All right, guys, here's what we're going to cover today. This is called tonicity, all right? And then tonicity, by definition, is just the number of solutes in a solution. You know, because when we talk about transport, more specifically passive transport, when we say things are going from a high to a low concentration, we have to know where we have the most solutes so that way we can predict which way they travel. Now, tonicity, right? We actually have 3 types of tonicity, right? Our first type is called hypertonic, okay? And usually when we talk about hypertonic, we're referring to a solution. Now, hyper means more. And when we talk about more, we're referring to more solutes, right? So if I have more solutes, that means I'm going to have less water. And here's what that's going to look like. So let's say here's my beaker, and then here's my solution. And of course, we have to compare it to something, so here's my cell. So let's say this is just a number I'm making up. Let's say my solution has 10% solute. Okay, 10% solute. And maybe my cell has 5% solute. I have to compare these two numbers. I have 10 versus 5. So when I go to name this solution, I have to see, does my solution have more or less than my cell? Well, my solution, it has 10, my cell has 5, so my solution has more solute. And since it has more solute, he is called hypertonic because he has more. And then what we do to figure out what happens to my cell is we have to do the rest in water. So if I have 10% solute, that means I must have 90% water. And if I have 5% solute here, I have 95% water. And when we talked about osmosis water moves from high to low. And I have 95 to 90, so my water is going to move out. If my water moves out of my cell, that means my cell is going to shrink. Okay, let's try the next one. This is called hypotonic. All right, and of course, we're still going to refer to this as the solution. So hypo means less solute. And if I have less solute, that means I'm going to have more water. And what that looks like, so here's my solution. There's my solution. Here's my cell. So let's say maybe this solution has 2% solute, and my cell has 6% solute. Well, if I'm comparing, I have 2 versus 6. My solution has less solute, and if he has less solute, that means he is hypotonic. Now I just make the difference up in water. If I have 2% solute, that means I have 98% water. If I have 6% solute over here, I have 94% water. And water, because of osmosis, goes from high to low. So this water is going to move inside my cell. That means my cell is going to swell. And usually when I see hypotonic, it's kind of silly, but when I see hypotonic, I always think of a hippo, because hippos are really, really big and they live in water. So when my hippo's in water, he gets super big like my water, or like my cell does. So when my cell has a bunch of water coming into him, then he gets really, really big. Now my last kind, so I have hyper, hypo. This third kind is called isotonic. Now isotonic means I have equal solutes. And that equal solutes is just comparing the solution to my cell. So here's my solution, here's my cell. Maybe I have 3% solute out here. That means I have 3% solute in here. So this would be an isotonic solution because my solids are equal. Then if I do the water difference, I have 97% water in there, 97% water in there. And so what will my cell do if water is equal? That means my cell will stay the same size. All right, so let's do some practice problems. Practice problem number 1. Let's make that bigger. All right, here's my solution, here's my cell. Let's say I have 2% solute in here. Let's say I have 5% solute in here. So first thing is I need to name the solution, which means I have to compare my solute concentrations. I'm looking at 2 versus 5. 2 is less than 5. So which word up here meant less? That's hypotonic. All right, so my solution, this is a hypotonic solution because it has less solute than my cell. Now to figure out what my cell does, I have to look at the water. If I have 2%, that means I have 98% water in here. If I have 5%, here's my 95% water. Water always moves from high to low. So it's going to go inside my cell. If I add water to my cell will swell. All right, let's try another one. Here's my solution. Here's my cell. Let's say I have 10% solute in here. And maybe I have 3% solute in here. All right, first we have to name the solution. And I have to look at concentrations. I have 10 versus 3, okay? 10 is bigger than 3, so which word up here meant more? That's right, it's hyper. Hyper meant more. So this solution right here, this is a hypertonic solution because it has more stuff. Now to see what happens to my cell, I look at the water. So I have 90% water in here. I have 97% water in here. Water flows osmosis, high to low. That means my water will leave. If my water leaves, that means my cell is going to shrink. All right, let's round up with one more, maybe 1 or 2 more examples. Here's my solution. Here's my cell. Let's do 4% solute in here. Let's do 4% solute in here. So I have to name my solution. I am comparing 4 versus 4. So 4 equals 4, it's the same. And if I look at my words, which one means same? It's iso. So this is an isotonic solution. I make the difference up in water, so I have 96% water, I have 96% water. Say water's still going to move in and out, but because it moves in and out at an equal rate, that means my cell will stay the same. Let's go ahead and do one more. So here's number 4. Here's my solution. Here's my cell. Let's put 9% solute in here. Let's put 2% solute in here. So first things first, I want to name the solution. I'm looking at 9 versus 2. So think to yourself, is 9 bigger or smaller than 2? 9 is bigger. So which word meant more or bigger? That was hypertonic. And if I make up the difference in water, so here's 91% water, here's 98% water. Water moves from high to low. 98's bigger, it moves out, so that means my cell will shrink. All right, so tonicity, number of solutes in a solution. I use this so I can predict movement and I can see what happens to my cell size. I have 3 types. Hyper means more. I have hypo. Hypo means less. And iso means equal. And if I can figure those words out, then I can predict what happens to cell size. It'll shrink or swell or it'll stay the same. All right, I hope that helps.